Welcome everybody, once more Road Conversations. Today we're with Mr. Luis Cobos.
Yes, sir.
Is it Cobos or Cobos?
Cobos.
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 And
yeah.
I got the chance to meet you, Luis, when I walked into your shop, right when after I moved to Riverside, trying to find a place to get a haircut. I remember walking in there, you were on the first chair, and I was walking.
Yeah.
And towards the back, and I see Javi, like, hey, I'll take you in, come on in. You know,
Yeah.
and I know that for a fact it's not easy to take walkings in your line of industry,
Yeah.
which with that being said, obviously he's the owner of the ranch and also the owner of a clothing company. And I also know that you are creating a school to teach other barbers how to develop themselves. So you got your hands in a couple of things going on.
Yeah.
You know, but I remember one of the times when I went back, we struck a really quick conversation and God came out into the conversation.
Of course.
You know, and I know you mentioned is you're a man of God. I see it on your Facebook, on your Instagram, it says God first. So what I want to make sure is that today people get to know who Luis is, you know, get to know your story, make sure that people know how you got into where you are today. And with that being said, is giving the glory back to him. What do you say we do that?
Yeah, sounds like
You
a good
good?
plan today. Yeah.
All right,
of course,
brother.
bro.
Well, welcome.
Sure.
Appreciate you, man. So the ranch, brother, how did you open up the ranch barber? That was the first thing that you thought about doing in business? Was that your first venture?
Yes and no. So like, I think I started this clothing brand, had no plan, right? When I was just a barber, and it was called like Guilty, and it was actually something that me and one of my buddies at the time, we had started together. And it was stand for God loves the yearning. You know, the people that yearn for him, right? The people that, you know, and God loves everyone, right? He loves sinners just like he loves his own people, and he gives everybody the opportunity for salvation. But the idea was with that clothing brand was that I wanted to represent the fact that we're all guilty.
Okay.
We're all guilty of sin. Like none of us are perfect. Only Jesus Christ was only, you know, perfect human being to walk this earth as far as sin goes. So I wanted to kind of represent or have a brand represent the fact that we're all in this together, right? Like as humans. So I started a brand. I called it GLTY because guilty was already taken.
Okay.
So it was just GLTY, and we made it an acronym. And then we actually, it's pretty cool. We actually made it a gavel. You know, the judge, right? Like slams a gavel like you're guilty, right? And it was a cracked gavel.
Okay.
So the idea was that the gavel represented a broken system.
Okay.
That as humans, we're people that are imperfect, judging other people's imperfections.
Okay.
So the idea behind it, I think, was very deep. I really loved it. A lot of people really resonated with it. But eventually, I just kind of gave up on that dream to continue to pursue barbering. Okay. Because I kind of realized that in business, you know, if you have too many things going on at once, unless you set the foundation for your first business, you're not gonna succeed.
100%.
You know, your mind is too split apart. So yeah, man, that's kind of like my first technical venture, kind of buying something and reselling it to people. It was kind of cool, you know, like I kind of liked the idea of being able to create something that was mine and have people actually like rock with it or like the idea of it, you know?
How old are you, brother?
I'm 32 years old.
You're 32?
Yes, sir.
So how old were you when you first started that venture?
I was like 25, I
25.
think. When I really took it seriously, I was like 25. And I did it for like a year. Like I said, it was never to get rich. It was more like a passion project.
Okay.
And when I did that, I just remember like really falling in love with the process of being able to figure out how it works, going to the right companies to like, you know, mass manufacture your clothing, even if it's like 40 pieces at a time. Okay. You know, representing it, selling it, marketing it. I learned a lot about business through that small process, even though it was a passion project and it wasn't like this, you know, big dream to make money with, like, or anything to make money with. I was like, it was something that at least get my feet wet, you know.
Is anybody in your family business owners? Did it already come from your family, or you're the first one?
I have an uncle-in-law, my tío. I don't know much about business through him. Like we've had little conversations, but I know that he owned a couple businesses. Okay. He actually owned a pizza restaurant in the Gaslamp district in San Diego. Okay. He had.
He still has that restaurant?
No, he sold it. He sold it like maybe 20 years ago, I believe. But he had it for like 30 years. And he also had other businesses. He had his foot in the door with the military, where he was like fixing boots and reselling it back to them. So yeah, and he has a lot of real estate. Okay. He invested into a lot of real estate. It's like the past 50 years. Okay. So he's well off for sure. But that's the first person that I think kind of inspired me, because he was an immigrant. Okay. He came from Peru and he came out here, and he told me his backstory, how he was 18 years old and he came here legally. But he was an immigrant nonetheless, and he ended up finding his way into entrepreneurship. And his story just really inspired me, because if someone can come from another country, start with literally nothing, no help, well, what excuse do we have? For me, for example, my mom's an immigrant. I'm not. I was born here. Like, what excuse do I have not to find success,
Yeah, it's funny you're touching on that point with everything that we're living through right now.
Yeah.
We're sitting in California, going after the immigrant community. I'm an immigrant myself. I came to this country when I was 12. I turned 12 here in this country, and then I went through the whole process. It took me over a decade to be able to get my green card. And one of the things that immigrants do bring up to this country is the opportunity that we don't have in our country, is to create something huge.
100%.
And I can relate to what you're saying about your uncle, because the Lord has allowed me to build this company on his behalf, that we now have over 50 people that work with us. We have created an economy, like I was telling you earlier, but it's the misunderstanding of only a few that are on top, that are wanting to control or wanting to push some people out of this country.
Yeah.
And to me, it comes to be bringing it to the biblical values. It's God is being lost. Not God hasn't been lost, but people have lost God into bringing them into our daily life.
Yeah.
And when you have people that are running a country and they may speak it, and you see the president talking about Jesus, but then actions are different.
Yeah.
Look at Jesus Christ. When he came, he was with the poor. He was with those that were not well off. He looked after that type of community, and what is happening right now is they're attacking that community.
Well, it says in the Bible, right? You'll know a tree by the fruit that it bears. You know what I mean? A tree can look good, right? Like, it can look like it bears good fruit, but when you bite into that apple, right?
Yeah.
Go back to Adam and Eve's story. Just because it's there, it doesn't mean that it's good fruit. And that's something that a lot of people don't pay attention to, right? Like, your actions have to align with what you say. And you know this in business too. You're in leadership, you know what I mean? Like, when you're running a business, if your actions don't follow with what you say, 99.9% of the time, like, people are going to hold you accountable if you're going to stop believing in you.
Yeah.
So when it comes to leadership in the government and what's going on with, like, the immigrant community, it sucks, because I do think there's two truths, you know what I mean? And this might be an unpopular opinion, right? There's people that got comfortable and didn't do what they did, like how you're, like, it took me a decade to get my permanent or my green card, right? Like, and that's honorable, because a lot of people will spend, 20, 30, 40 years in this country when they've had maybe multiple opportunities to get their papers or get in the right direction where they don't have to worry about getting deported. And I think that's the sad part, That's one side to it. The other side is, I think we lost the humanity, right? Like, the love for humanity and to see people torn apart. Like, my mom's a direct immigrant. My dad's still an illegal immigrant. He got caught too many times, and they haven't, I've already tried getting his papers, and they denied him. So, like, he's going to stay illegal until, maybe he goes back to Mexico. But, like, that's something that's sad, because I'm like, before I came around, I'm like, what did my dad do right? Like, what did he do to kind of save himself from this, And it sucks, but that's a reality check to all of us, Like, even though, like, I would dare say 9 out of 10 immigrants that come here with the right mindset to better themselves. 100%. And I think whether it just be to start a family and just own a home here and live a little better life than they did in their home country, I do think that, sadly, we have to continue to stay on guard. And that's something that I learned. People don't want to see it that way, but, like, being part of the immigrant community, because I'm being directly affected with family members that are living in fear right now. Like, I think it's you have to look at it like you're living in war, And
the sad part to that too is that same community is being used for decades, man. They're being used as pawns. You want one political side telling us one thing, and then you got the other one telling us another thing. But also, at the end of the day, none of them are doing much to trying to create a straight path for them to be able to be here legally, the way they want us to be. But in the meantime, they keep on leveraging that community for their advantage, and that is the sad part. When you really look at it from the outside looking in. Luis, I'm very curious, brother, because I hear you speak, and just from the very words, the very small conversation that we already had, I can tell you're familiar with the book. I can tell 100%. You know the book.
Yeah, I've read it a few times.
When did you came to know God? How did you came to know Jesus? Because to me, I wasn't always like this. I didn't take the time to read the book until 3.5, about a year before my dad was diagnosed with cancer. I felt the calling from the Lord, like, hey, you don't believe in me? You don't want to go to church? You don't want to belong to a community? Okay, but come to me. And that's when I heard it, and I bought my first Bible, and I started reading the book on my own. I had his calling. How was it for you?
Well, that's amazing to hear, man. I do believe everybody has a story, and they have a reason why they come to God. I feel like very rarely do people are just like, they're just born and they're like, yeah, I believe in God. Like, even if their parents are, I think they still have to have their own experience
their own life,
of coming to Jesus Christ, and finding salvation, because the salvation that we're promised, it doesn't come from what we have in this earth, whether it be making money or being poor. Like the riches that we have here don't matter, right?
Yeah.
Like that's something that God doesn't promise riches. God promises salvation, and I think that's something that a lot of people forget as Christians. People want to believe. There's like what they call it, good news pastors and stuff like that. They want to preach prosperity and everything else, and I'm like, yeah, that can happen, but it takes you putting in the work, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of like how I came to know God, I was raised by a single immigrant mother, barely spoke English, broken English at best, and I have siblings. My mom has 6 total kids. Me and my brother were the only full-blooded brothers. We grew up together. We're 2 years apart, and my dad wasn't present in my life since I was a couple months old. Okay. He left when I was a couple months old. And my brother was like a year and a half, almost 2. And so, yeah, we were raised very poor, very, very poor. Me and my brother, we would share underwear, clothes. We never had a room growing up. Okay. We would live in a 1-bedroom apartment at best when we had it good. And we would sleep in the living room, or we would, all 3 of us would sleep in one room. And we just struggled a lot. But like we never felt like we needed anything, because my mom always made an effort to work 2 jobs, make ends meet. Like at a very early age, and this is a context to build up to how I got to know God. Please. But it was me, my mom, and my brother. And I remember like at a very young age, I noticed there's like this story that I'll never forget that kind of made me want to like work hard for what I want in life. I was like 12 years old, and I was heavily into Pokemon. Okay. And a lot of my cousins, they had both parents. My mom was the only one that didn't have a husband. Okay. So she was the black sheep of the family, and but we're also really poor because my mom didn't have that help. We had enough to eat, and I'm always being grateful. We always had a roof over our head. But I remember I was 12 years old and I really wanted a Pokemon game and a Game Boy Advance and all that. And I remember talking to my mom and asking her for one for Christmas, and my mom never lied. Like I love my mom for that. She looked me in the eyes and was like, "Luis, I can't afford it as much as I want to." And I just remember I asked her, like, what if I work and help you afford it? Okay. And I went to my uncle. He still does gardening and landscaping. And I was like, hey, can I go with you to go mow lawns, whatever? And mind you, like, that was one of the hardest days of work in my life. But it was like middle of summer, we were summer break. So I go to work with them.
Yeah, that ain't for me.
Yeah. Hey, man, I worked a full days of work at that time. I was 12, so it was like 20 years ago. But it was like $30 for the day. But I came home happy with that money. I gave it to my mom, and my mom put up the rest of the money.
That's so cool.
She did it to kind of like, obviously, please me or whatnot, to make me happy. But I just remember working and like it felt better. It felt better to like earn what you want in life. You know what I mean? And ever since then, I just kind of like always had that mentality. Fast forward though, sadly, I think when you come from a broken family, you look for family outside of your family. Okay. And my brother and I, we got into gangs, and we got into the streets, and, I was a knucklehead. I got into a lot of trouble. At 17, I was stabbed during an altercation in the middle of the morning. And I was partly at fault for that, but thankfully I survived. It was me and my buddy, and thankfully we're both alive, but I got stabbed, and then I think that kind of like hardened my heart. Okay. I think from like 17 to like 19 years old, I was... all the fear I had in my heart, like after like realizing that people are capable or willing to take your life, I hardened my heart, and I think I really shut off the idea of like God or anything positive in my life, and I started doing a lot of bad things. I think at a certain point, I do believe that I was oppressed. Okay. I felt like I was constantly, like, I think for people that don't know, there's a difference between being like possessed and oppressed, right? Like, okay.
Can you describe to me the difference?
Okay.
I'm curious.
So possession means like, you don't have God in you, right? Like if God, if the Holy Spirit's in you, you cannot be possessed by something evil, right? Where light exists, dark doesn't. So like possession is someone that doesn't know God, and like you're allowing like, a demon or evil spirits inside you, to kind of make you someone you're not. This is more of a spiritual attack from the inside out, where oppression is an attack from the outside in. Okay. So oppression is like, the best way I can explain it is, if you ever watch cartoons, there's like an angel and a demon on your shoulder. Okay. So oppression is having like demons on your shoulder telling you, whispering things in your ear, kind of convincing you to do things. Okay. And I felt like I was being oppressed. So like for me, it was like I was constantly waking up, and I felt like I had to do something like to harm someone or do something every single day. Like it was, looking back now, it was very weird. I remember my cousin, she's very in touch with her spiritual side, and we were talking, And she started sweating, and she's like, Luis, I can't be around you. And I was like, what happened? I just feel like you have a lot of evil spirits around you. And she just like walked away from me, and I was like, damn.
Okay.
And I just remember like that feeling that I was like always just angry, you know, always just like mad at the world. And one day, you know, I started finally getting caught for a lot of these things that I was doing. Thankfully, nothing too serious. You know, those things, you know, I learned from, but I didn't get caught for those. And the things that were less serious, thank God, I started going to jail a lot. From like the moment I turned 18, I think I went to jail 3 days later.
Okay.
Like the moment I became an adult, I went to jail, and I was in and out of jail from 18 to 19 years old. I was out on bail going to jail. Like I was just doing a lot of time. And I remember I was looking at 14 years in prison at one point with the strike. And I remember being really stressed out at that point. I was like, man, like the reality check was really hitting me. I was like, as an adult, I was really concerned. I was like, I'm gonna spend 14 years of my life in here. I'm gonna get out when I'm, I don't know, 33.
Right.
You know, I'm like, what am I gonna do with my life? I'm gonna spend all my 20s in prison. And I finally got scared. You know, I remember I called my sister. She was a paralegal at the time, or she was at one point. So I called her just to ask her advice, because she's my older sister. She's like my only sister that I really have, but my older sister.
How many brothers or sisters do you have?
So I have 14. My dad had 2 families, but I don't know any of my siblings from my dad's side.
Okay.
But my sister from my mom's side, she's older. She's like all of our second moms. She's like, I talked to her and I cried to her. I remember I broke down just scared, you know. I was like, hey, like, I know I've messed up a lot. You know, I was doing a lot of bad things, but like I'm actually looking at something very serious now. I'm looking at 14 years. What do you think? She dropped everything. She came to talk to lawyers down here, try to get some numbers going. She set something up for me, and I just remember like this feeling like at the same time I started going to church.
Okay.
Mind you, at the time I was shaved head. I had a tattoo on my face that's practically almost gone.
Okay.
Like I looked a little bit crazy, you know, like bald head. I looked like like a gang member. And I remember going into a church, and I remember like the first day, which was a crazy.
You remember what church that was? Do you remember the name of the church?
It was in San Bernardino. I forgot.
Okay.
Yeah, I used to go with one of my friends, but it was crazy because I remember I would go to that church, and then when I went in, you know, they're praising God, you know, they're worshiping, and I remember like just sitting there, and I just remember sweating. I remember it was like during December or something like that. Like it was a colder month, and I just remember like really sweating, and like why am I sweating inside when it's like super cold?
Super cold.
And I go back to the idea of like, you know, being oppressed. I think a lot of people don't understand that's like, you know, spiritual warfare is real.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I remember going in there and just feeling like I'm not comfortable, like my body wasn't letting me stay in there. After like the 3rd or 4th time of me being in there, I was able to sit through a whole sermon and like actually sit in there comfortably. But it took a while, and every time I was able to sit in there longer. Well, one time they had an altar call, and mind you, I was still fighting this case.
Right.
And I just remember walking in there, and they had an altar call, like if you need prayer for anything or whatever. Like, so I walked up, and I just remember like walking up, just like nervous, and like I remember the whole room was just looking at me because I obviously stuck out like a sore thumb, you know. And I walked to the front, and I remember the pastor, I think his name was Fernando, God bless his heart, he put his hands over me, and he said, what do you need prayer for? And I told him what I was, you know, dealing with. So he prayed over me, and I just remember I just started crying. Like I just let it out, and he told me, he was like, Luis, I was like, what do I do now? Because I'm lost. Like I never, like I grew up Catholic, you know, you do your first communion, you do the baptism, you do all the basic stuff, but like you don't really get to know God. It's all like,
it's just a tradition.
Yeah, there you go. It's more of a cultural, like traditional thing, you know. So I never knew God like that. So like I was like, what do you do now? Like, do you get on your knees and pray? And he started laughing. He's like, you can, you don't have to though. But he was like, because I'm not asking you to test God, but I'm asking for you to talk to God and ask him to like show you that he's real, so you can like accept him as your Lord and Savior, right? So I'm like, okay. So I did, and I prayed to God specifically. He's like, be very specific. I remember like I went home that day, and I did get on my knees. It was my first time praying, like legitimately praying, not doing the rosario or anything.
Yeah,
like
not
that.
just what we've been taught as Catholic, exactly. As Catholic too. Yeah.
So I remember getting on my knees and doing
nothing. Not that we're bashing on the religion. It's just our experience.
Yeah, it's different.
It was like that.
Yeah. So I got on my knees, and I'm like hands together. I remember like now looking back, and I'm like, it was exaggerated, but it was genuine. It was genuine. And I remember getting on my knees and praying to God, and I remember asking him, I'm like, God, I'm looking at 14 years in prison. Like give me 5 years or less. Show me that you're real. Like give me 5 years or less, and I will dedicate the rest of my life to you. Like that was a promise I made to him.
Okay.
And man, I still get the chills to this day, man. And like I remember like I was looking at 16 months with halftime, which is like 8 months. And I just remember like I caught like 3 different cases while I was on bail, which is like crazy. Like you're stacking up your time, you're almost multiplying, right? Your time. And so then I was looking at 14 years at the end of everything, and then I went back and my public defender, or how some people like to say public pretender, I go and he's like, hey, I've never heard of this, but the district attorney's offering you 16 months with halftime still after all the cases you caught. So imagine like these cases never happened. Like they just disappeared. Like, yeah, I'm signing for them, but I was running them concurrently where I was able to like do them at the same time, like all the time. So I was like, you serious? He's like, yeah. And I looked at my sister and I was like, hey, like, I know that you could get some of these cases dropped. I might just only do 2 or 3 months in jail. But I was like, I love you, and I feel like this is something I got to do for myself. And she respected it, because I just kind of felt like if I didn't go to prison, because I still went to prison, but I went for 7 months only. I ended up getting my GED in there.
Okay.
I told her, like, if I don't go to prison, if I don't do this, I think it's going to feel like a slap on the wrist, and I really want to change my life.
Right.
Like, I need to go through this in order to, like, grow from what the hell I
where
went
you
through.
were at that point.
Yeah. So I ended up signing the deal. I asked them for another month so I could leave my mom with some money before I went, because it was just me and my mom at the time. And I ended up turning myself in. I remember my whole family praying for me.
Wow.
Right before I turned myself in, and I remember my uncle, God bless his heart, he's been my actual father, my father figure. And I remember like wanting to hug him because I was scared. I was 19 years old. I was a kid. Looking back at 19, yeah. When I look at people or kids that are 19 going into prison, like that's big boys camp. You're not walking in there with nobodies. You're walking in there with drug dealers, killers, like people that have done real crimes,
Right.
So I remember like being scared, and I started crying, and then I went to go hug my uncle, and he like punched me in the chest. For very machista thing to do, just like he gave me with 2 punches, like bam. And I was like, it shocked me out of it, thankfully. And he's like, put your chin up. You're going in as a man. You're gonna come out as a man. And I'm like, damn. And I needed to hear that, because when I went in there and I was like, how do you plead? I was like, guilty, and I had my chin up. I remember holding back tears because I was scared. But I'm like, I walked in there. I was like, I got to do what I got to do. But yeah, man. So I go in there and I remember like praying to God, and I remember like. I remember praying to God and asking him, like in my head, right? Because at that point I said I'm guilty, and I'm like, they're handcuffing me. I remember praying to God. I'm like, God, give me someone that that knows about you and wants to teach me about you.
Okay.
Crazy enough.
Before you went in.
Yeah, before I went into my cell with my cellmate. I go into the cellmate, man. This is the craziest thing I've ever seen. I walk into that unit, right? And I remember the guy's name is Guadalupe Cuevas, and like he, good guy, man. Like he had the whole cell block. I mean, everybody, whites, blacks, Mexicans, everybody, bro, praying together, holding hands. Right before they ate lunch, right before they ate breakfast, it was crazy. I was like, wow. I've never seen that. Everybody would pray before they ate. It was crazy. And he was doing that inside of that. And I was just like, what the heck? And mind you, I was like a baby Christian at the time. At the time, I wasn't even a Christian yet. I haven't given my life to God. And I remember like being in the cell block, and I would see him read the Bible, because I was his cellie, right? I was his cellmate. And I would see him reading the Bible, and like the third day, I finally like got the urge to ask him, hey, what are you reading? And he was like, oh, like the Bible, you want me to read it out loud? He was like, yeah. About like 2 days later, he asked me if I wanted to read it, and I was like, yeah, I'll read it. So now I'm reading the Bible, I'm reading Proverbs. And he's the one that taught me how to read the Bible. He was like, he said there's 30 days, 31 chapters in Proverbs. Okay. So he's like, he reads 1 chapter of Proverbs a day, and that's what I do. And then he's reading like other chapters at nighttime. So he kind of like, I still do it to this day. And I just remember he asked me after I read it that one day, like, hey, like, have you ever given your life to God? And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, have you been spiritually baptized? Like, have you accepted like the Holy Spirit? And I'm like, no, I don't know what that means. So he kind of explained it, and then he walked me through a prayer. I was on my knees, hands open, praying to God, accepting God in a jail cell. Crazy stuff,
wow,
man.
Brother. It's not crazy. It's a testimony, man.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, talk about God looking after you. You ask him to give you 5 years or less. You give yourself your life to him.
He gave me 7 months,
He gave you 7 months.
He's like, you're not going to deny me.
You ask him to give somebody who knows him, to bring you close to him. He's your cellmate.
Oh, and the crazy part is, he prayed to get, he said his last cellmate didn't want to hear about God. So after he left and I was coming in, he had asked God, give me someone that wants to learn about you. Like this.
That's God, man, working in multiple places.
Yeah, man.
That's the beautiful thing about him. He's not held to time or space. He's everywhere. And the sad thing is a lot of people don't understand that, because they haven't come to give themselves the opportunity to get to know him. And it sucks, because once you understand how great he is and you open up your heart to get to know him, things like this happen.
Yeah.
Miracles like this happen.
Yeah.
Miracles of, like you said at the beginning, is He doesn't promise us riches. He promises a life in which we're going to suffer, but at the end of the day is we will be with them.
Yeah, it will be salvation at the end of it. That's the only thing He promises.
And it's so easy to accept it, but so hard at the same time. You know, once I've understood, it's like, man, this guy, he came, he was crucified, he was spat on, he was stabbed, and he knew that was going to happen, and he still went through it. And yet there's still people today that were not willing to accept that or to get to know Him because of the enemy. It's the evil is here too. The evil is here too.
Yeah.
He's in this world, but once you see the spiritual warfare, it's real, like you said at the beginning. And to me, that didn't happen until I started reading the book. And that's how my life began to change. It went from worrying about profits, went about worrying about results for the company. Like, there's got to be more than this. Because my sin was with the company. For the longest time, I let this company turn into my idol. You know, it was all about the company. I was not there for my family. I was not there for my wife. I was not there for my daughters. I was not there for God.
All about business.
It was all about business.
You're
It was all
idolizing
about
your
business, man.
Money, yep.
And I was losing my life to this business, and I forgot where it is. But to what will a man forfeit his soul if it's not for the Lord? And I forgot where it is. But it's so true.
Yep.
It's like us in business, we tend to make our business our idol because we have that vision. We want to make sure that this happens, and we want to make sure that we're successful in this life. And we lose sight of Him.
You want to know what's crazy? Like when it comes to business, I've learned two things. I learned that when you're looking at business, a lot of people don't understand that it comes from serving the people that are working for your business, right? Whether it be independent contractors, employees, or whatever, or serving the customer. You know, everything comes down to serving someone. And Jesus Christ taught us how to serve.
Yeah.
True leadership, like, right? He was leading people. Thousands of people followed Him. He sat there in ministry. He had a 3-year ministry, right? From 30 to 33 years old.
Yeah.
I'm in the middle of mine, right? Like, I joke about it a lot, but it's like true. I'm in my years right now. I call them my ministry years, where I'm like building, I'm growing, and I'm like, the ministry is going to hopefully continue, obviously, after 33. But people don't understand when it comes to, you know, being Christ-like, what does that truly mean? It means to learn how to serve others and put others before you, right?
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't mean you get taken advantage of. It doesn't mean you become a doormat. It doesn't mean that you get abused.
No, yeah.
But it does mean that in business, you have to put others first. You put the customers first.
100%.
You put the people that work for your business first. And 9 times out of 10, especially if you treat people right, they're going to give back to your business. They're going to work harder because you're giving back to them.
And to that point, whenever I'm having my presentations, I just went to Texas. I was blessed to speak in front of 120 people. That is the first question that I ask everybody. That's how I start my presentations. Why are you in business?
Yep.
And I like to get people to engage. Oh, because I got tired of working for somebody else. Oh, because I want to have financial freedom. It's like, okay, well, why am I in business? And I pop it up on the screen. It's like, I'm here to serve. Because that who is the greatest servant amongst all of you is here to serve you. He's here to serve everybody else. And that's what Jesus did. He came to serve us.
100%.
And exactly what you just said, that's why we go on business. Because in order for me to make a commission to get paid, I got to serve somebody else. But people lose sight of that. People just focus on the money. And I want to make sure that I get these things and these things. Like, well, for you to get these things, you got to serve somebody. You got to give a haircut. You got to sell a policy. And people lose sight of that.
That always comes secondary, man. I tell people, worry about providing a great service or a great product, and the money will come second. You know, I think that's something that people don't understand. Like, just aligning, you know, what it means to be Christ-like and to have or God in your life, and aligning that to entrepreneurship. You know what I mean? I think a lot of people don't understand how important it is to have something bigger than yourself that you believe in. Because there was a pastor one time, he said, God will give you the trees, he won't build you your tables. And I remember that because I think it's in Revelations where it talks about how like Christ is knocking out the door, but he's not going to open it for you, right? He's waiting for you to open that door, right? So it's like, when you're thinking about salvation, you're thinking about entrepreneurship, a lot of it goes hand in hand when it comes to, you know, how you build your business, how you view business. Like I'm guilty of starting my business with a chip on my shoulder, wanting to prove to the world that I could succeed. I am guilty of that, but I always kept God in front of everything. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't do. They forget about God in the process and then they come back to Him. I feel like I always kept God in front of everything. So whenever like I was making like a wrong turn, I felt the Holy Spirit kind of nudging me like, hey, you're not
remember where you used to be? That's not where I have for you.
And I just remember like I was literally talking to somebody about it yesterday, and I was like telling them like how like the first year I had like imposter syndrome.
Okay.
Like I was literally like leaning on God for everything. I was just like super stressed out all the time. I was like, am I even supposed to be a business owner? Am I even a good business owner? Because you just started, right? Like you don't know what you're doing. Like you can read as many books as you want, but until like you're in there, you know, having your dips and having your come ups, you really struggle and you don't understand like what it really takes to be a business owner until you're like in the thick of it. So like after the 1 year mark, for some reason, like the systems and numbers are really big to me in my brain. And I just remember getting to a place where I'm like, okay, cool. I hit the 1 year mark. Then I felt comfortable, like the imposter syndrome almost like immediately left me.
Okay.
But at the same time, I also learned a lot. And one of the biggest things that I learned was that people that have families, young men around my age, you know, they're working and making really good money from the business that I started. And seeing them do good and prosper, and them telling me, oh yeah, I hit this metric, I'm making more money here, like this week I made this much money. That started getting me more excited for them than anything I was doing
for
at
yourself,
that point.
yeah.
Yeah, I ended up losing that because I already knew. I was like, okay, Luis, you're comfortable already.
Yeah.
If you make more money, that's a byproduct of you helping others, and you need to remember that. So I think a lot of the times that people think, oh, the harder you work, the more money you're going to make. If that's true, someone working at a warehouse would
be a millionaire.
Yeah, would be a millionaire.
Yeah.
But it's not like that. It's about knowing how the system works. And it's like provide a service, right? Which is business, right? Supply and demand. Provide a need where there's a problem or solve a problem.
Yeah.
And by providing that solution, you're going to continue to grow. And like to me, the biggest problem right now, for example, in my industry is there's too many barbershop owners that treat people like employees, are condescending, you know, they're not good owners. So it's like when you open up the space and you have chairs available for barbers, for example, that want to work for a business with a good community, good culture, they have the ability to make money where like the owner isn't just about making money. Once again, they're there to serve and treat them like a partnership. Then all of a sudden, you know, you see my business prosper, you know, 3 businesses, 3 locations in 3 years. And that's all bootstrapped. I have no loans. I didn't get anything, no help, no investors. Like it was all me, you know, but I sacrificed a lot to get here too, you know, like I didn't go out as much as I should have, never took a vacation. Like,
but you changed your lifestyle, man.
You had to.
God gave you the opportunity to reinvent yourself and align with them. So now is your focus, instead of being out on the streets, being out there trying to see who you can harm. He knew you had to go through that.
Yeah.
That's your testimony.
100%.
And the reason why you're the man you are today is because of the past that he allowed you to live.
Yeah.
But the difference is you see that and you are aware because you got Jesus in your life. So now you put it into work in the right way. That's why he's blessing you with what you have now.
Yep.
But now what's important to me is like similar situation is, well, how do I keep on going forward? Is 1 decade is behind, the next decade is like, okay, I want to make sure that people get to know who you are. Because what is the whole point of having this business if all I worry about is keep on building the business and keep on growing it, and along the way all the opportunities that I'm getting to have conversations like this is like I'm very intentional and I'm planting the seed.
Well, I mean, and I think that's important. Going back to your point, right? Like, who knows about you, right? Like, if they know about you, like, I always had this dream, right? Like, since I was like, I think since I first got out of prison, I was like, oh, I know I wanted to be successful in something. And my biggest reason to be successful was to let God be known. Yeah. Like, I remember, like, seeing, like, because I was boxing for a little bit, never took it too serious. I should have. But never went professional or nothing. But I boxed for a few years. And I remember just watching these athletes, you know, whether it be someone in football, like an NFL star, and they're like, oh, first off, I want to thank God. And even though I think a lot of the times it's like superficial or they just kind of throw it out there, to some people they really mean it. But I think it's beautiful that, you know, you have fighters and people that are like, hey, like, give your life to Jesus Christ.
And they're vocal about it.
And they're vocal about it. And I think that's beautiful. But it's like, would anybody give a crap if they weren't that famous, if they weren't successful, if they weren't champions, right? I think that's something that people don't pay attention to. People are inspired through the actions we take as humans here and the success we find here. And through that success, you know, your voice can go from sounding like a chihuahua to sounding like a lion in the middle of the jungle, you know?
Yeah, but I mean, at the end of the day, still the voice is the voice, man. Like, to me, I started to become very vocal about my relationship with God about 2 years ago. And the reason why I held back from it is because of what will people say. I held back because I didn't want people to think that I was using my relationship with God to grow the business. So that was my own touch. It's like, why would I do this? Why am I really doing this about speaking about Him? Until I realized, wait a second, He's building a platform. I don't have nowhere near the voice that you have on social media. Okay, you have 14,000 followers 20. Or so? 20 now?
20,000.
Then last time I checked out 14, dude. Congrats.
Thank you.
So I barely had 3,400. But to me, it's like, look, this is why he's building this platform, is because I know how important it is for people to hear the message from God and not coming necessarily from a pastor or from a priest. Because a lot of people that are holding back to build a relationship with them is because they don't want to go into the religion. And I understand that, because I struggle with what the religion did in the past to
100%,
me. You know, but when I get the opportunity to know, like, okay, I don't have nowhere near the platform, but I have a business that he has built, and I have the opportunity to talk to the people. It's like it's my job to go out there and perform the Great Commission, because that is what this is all about. It doesn't matter whether I sound like a small chihuahua or I have a lion. I don't care, because I'm going to speak about it, and people will hear it, and the right ears will listen to it, and that is the fertile ground that is waiting for that seed to be planted. But who is going to go out there and plant the seed?
Well, I think about even like when I came to God, it was one person that did it. It wasn't someone famous. I was in the soul block, just me and him.
There you go.
And I think that's kind of the problem, right? A lot of people wait till they're famous. And that's like what I'm saying. Like for me, like I never waited. Like I've always been very open about who I am. I'm not going to speak on details, but I've been in situations where I've had to choose my faith over, my own physical safety. And every single time I chose my faith, because I was like, hey, if Christ was crucified for who he was, a perfect human being, who am I? Like I've been in situations where people have used my faith to attempt to like maybe crucify me or harm me, and I'm like, this is what I believe in, and I'm gonna stand on business. Like that's kind of what it was. And if I was able to do that for a gang, if I was able to do that for, things that I don't believe in now. Why wouldn't I do that for something I truly believe, or for someone or God that really saved me, So like, I think so I heard something the other day too, right? They said, if they crucified Jesus, why wouldn't they crucify you? If he was a perfect human being and you're not, like we have to stop being scared as Christians to speak about our faith, or to like about being judged by others, right? Because that's like, who cares? People are going to have always an opinion, no matter like who you are or what you do. People are always going to talk, so it's like you might as well just live your life the way you're supposed to. Lean on God for everything. People have religion, that's fine, but like I believe more so in having a real relationship with Christ. You can miss church, but what are you doing on a day-to-day basis? Are you going to church on Sundays and cussing on Mondays, right?
The minute you're out of there, you're already slashing everybody with your thoughts.
I went to church a month ago, because I still try to go from time to time, right? Obviously, like I try to just hear the good word. And
where'd you go, if you don't mind?
Crossroads in Corona.
Okay.
So I went, and as I'm leaving, there's people driving crazy to get out of there, just being jerks. And that's exactly what I thought. I'm like, you literally just left church. So you can't even leave in peace. Like, dude, going to church is just a hobby, like a box to check off. And that's when I kind of realized, again, because I recommitted my life to God recently, and I felt like I was getting stuck in this like idea of the business, and just like not losing sight of God, but I just kind of wanted to show God like, hey, I'm here, even though I never forgot about him, I never lost sight of him. I just wanted to recommit for like my own like mental clarity. And I just remember sitting there and I was like, man, like this is why I don't come to church.
This is recent?
Yeah, it was a couple months ago that I did. And like I just remember like leaving that day at church, and I was like, this is why I don't come to church, because you sit there and you walk in there and then you see people just being hypocritical, and I don't like that. Like I'd rather have a ministry that I carry when I talk and the way you walk. That's your ministry, like, and a lot of people don't see that when it comes to a business. And that's something that I spoke to one of my buddies who's a pastor. I'm like, a lot of people don't see that when you have a business and you have 50 people working for your business, like you're ministering every single day. The way that you talk, the way that you walk, you're preaching to them in everything that you do. Your actions speak louder than words, I remember this story of Jesus Christ walking, and there was a lady that just had so much faith in him that she wanted to be cured. I think she was bleeding for like 10 years. And she touched his robe, and then Christ was just, and Jesus felt like the power leave him. The power left him, and then he was like kind of in shock, and he was like, who touched me, kind of thing. And she was like, oh, I've been bleeding for 10 years. And he's like, oh, well, because your faith.
Your faith has cured you.
And I think that's something that people don't understand, right? Like sometimes he wasn't even talking. His presence, his actions, what people heard about him, that's what made her believe in him. And a lot of people don't understand how you walk, how you talk on a day-to-day basis as a leader inside your business is actually going to be a reflection of how your business runs. And if literally this just happened. Like this past month, maybe month and a half, I started eating better, right?
Okay.
I can't even make this up. I started seeing it, and it inspires me because I'm like, okay,
Right.
like I got to be more on it. I started eating better. I started losing more weight. I was so busy with the business that I put my health on the back burner, right? It happens, man. Like you just get so focused, you just stop eating healthy, you stop caring.
You start walking around and your body catches up.
Yep.
2 years ago, I ended up at the ER. I almost had a stroke.
Really?
Yeah, they had to rush me. I woke up around 11 o'clock. The worst headache in my life in this side.
Wow.
I can't look at the clock. Everything is just moving around. I'm like, babe, you got to take me to the ER.
That's scary.
And that was at that time, 2.5 years ago. Business. I wasn't eating right. I wasn't exercising. And I was talking to God, but I wasn't taking care of the temple that He allowed me to live in. And dude, I was 2.5 years ago, I was at the hospital 3 times on the ER.
Dang.
Blood pressure rushing through the roof, man, because
Stressed
once
out.
again, all I wanted to do was the business. Is like, I learned to let go.
You
I'm
have
like,
to.
okay, Lord, this is your business. This is not my business. You chose me to run it for you. There's a lot of expenses. It's okay. Tell me what to do. I will do it, but you need to make sure that you provide, Lord. And He does. The minute I started to letting go, I'm like, hey, the peace that I receive. Last year, I'll share this with you. Last year, I lost about $300,000, but I've never had so much peace. $300,000 for a small business, it's a lot of money, dude. It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
You know, not only that, some of that money turned into actual debt because I'm accumulating interest, but I've never had the peace that I've ever had.
Because you have God in front of you, yeah.
Yeah. So once you learn to let go and you really come to Him, it's like, okay, you're getting it. He will provide again. He's providing again. But now it's having the understanding, like, okay, what is the true reason that I'm here? People talk about, well, why are we even alive? What's the whole purpose of this? Is come in here, do His work, do the work that He has provided you to do, but along the way is meet these people that haven't come and they haven't met Him yet.
Can I ask you something?
Go for it, brother.
So, I have this theory, right? I have this theory that a lot of people try to complicate it, like, why are we alive? Why are we here? Right? So I'm gonna make a statement. I'm gonna ask you a question because I want to get your perspective on it.
Okay.
Like I believe we're here to serve God and make Him known. Like
Yes.
that's it. With how you live, how you talk, how you walk, not being shy about your faith, right? I think that's our purpose, and I think it's very simple. When
Okay.
people choose to call themselves Christians, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not being critical. I'm just, speaking my mind. I think people don't understand that it's as simple as being Christ-like. We know who Christ was through His ministry, and we know that He didn't do anything but talk about God and bring people to God.
Okay.
That's all He did.
Okay.
So when people talk about a purpose as Christians, right, specifically as Christians, I do believe that, like, people don't focus on the simplest thing, just bringing people to God with how you talk, how you walk, and not being shy about your faith. Now, I believe, and I want to get your perspective on this, that what you do outside of that actually doesn't matter to God. Whether you're a warehouse worker, whether you're in a cell, whether you're a business owner, I believe that as long as you're making God known and you're living for God, that's all He cares about. Like everything else is free will.
Yeah.
How we choose to live, the car we choose to drive,
Yeah.
the house we choose to buy, how many kids we choose to have.
Yeah.
I believe, even though, I believe kids are a blessing, because I don't have any, but I do believe kids are a blessing from God. And everything that is good comes from God. But I do believe that, like, it doesn't matter how you actually make money, how hard you work or you don't work. I feel like what matters to God is, like, your salvation.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Makes total sense.
Do you agree with that?
100%.
Or do you feel like,
no, because
like
look,
what you do for work matters to God?
no,
or-
not at all. Because look, this is what I always tell God this in my prayers. It's like, Lord, if you want to take this business away from me, please take it. Because all I want to do, honestly, is the times that I enjoy the most is when I'm talking about God. When I'm talking about business, it's work. I like it. I enjoy it. It has to be done because that is how the Lord has allowed me to generate revenue to keep on living. But I don't enjoy it nowhere near as much as when I'm talking about God. When I'm doing a presentation, my presentation is the gospel and business. The gospel and business. And I was talking to Pastor Kowalski from Sandals Church. He came in here. I told him, Pastor, if I can walk away from this, I will do it on a heartbeat. He says, yeah, but do you really want to do that? Because at the end of the day, you have more reach in the seat that you are today. Because you're not a pastor, you're not a priest. You're a man in business, and your words coming differently to somebody else. So God used fishermen. God, look at the 12 apostles, dude. None of them were scholars. None of them knew they probably knew the word, but their regular jobs were nowhere near as a business owner. Even though some of them, they run the fisher, they had the boats, they had the business. But at the end of the day, it's the soul that is inside the body. And what do we decide to let the body use, you do the work for? Meaning, if you are somebody out there sweeping the floors, as long as you know him and you're using your words to give him the glory and to bring somebody here, that's all that matters.
That's it.
It's just the difference is through the business on social media in our era, well, we have a platform. Are we brave enough to use the platform that he has created to let the people hear the message that is where a lot of people hold back is, I don't want to use the platform because I don't want to lose the followers. Then are you really giving him the praise? Are you really giving him the glory? That is if you want to reach into the larger scale. But now it's these conversations that really take place behind the doors, behind the screens. It's like one-on-one. As long as you're talking about him, you're cutting a hair. Okay, you know how many times I got my haircut with Javi and we're talking about God? Doing it with Junior. It's like, I'm not working, I'm getting a haircut, but guess what I'm doing? I'm like, I'm going to talk about you, Lord.
So, well, to add to that, I want to say this. I genuinely don't believe you need God to be successful.
Say that again?
You don't need God to be successful. You need God to have salvation.
Yeah. There's
a difference, right? Like, when you called me to do this interview or you messaged me, I was willing to do it, but I do want to be brutally honest. If God was needed to be successful in this world, right, in the world, right, not for salvation or to get to heaven, right, I believe that Jeff Bezos, I never heard him once talk about God.
Not once, no.
And he's worth billions and billions of dollars. So it's like, to be successful financially, you don't need God. And God knows that, you know what I mean? Like the world is a bus stop. It isn't our permanent destination, you know? So like, I think having God though, you don't need God, but having God makes things easier. When you have things that you don't understand and why they're happening to you, whether they're like in your personal life or anything else, it's like when you're the leader, right? When you're the business owner, everybody looks to you for answers.
Yeah.
No matter where you're at in life, if you're struggling, who do you run to?
Who do you go for those answers when people come to you?
And that's exactly my point. A lot of people think, you know, they accredit God. Oh, I want to thank God. Like, no, I don't thank God for my success. I thank God for guiding me through my success. Okay. Like I said, God never made my tables. God gave me the trees for me to build those tables, right? Okay. So it's like, for me, when I thank God, I always pray. And I remember every single time I was like, God, as long as you give me health and you give me time. That's all I say. Like, God, give me health and give me time and I'm going to do this. So it's like I make a promise to God, like, give me my health, give me time to make this happen, and I will make this happen. Because I do believe that if God already gave us 2 eyes, 2 feet, our health, right, our ability to think like another human being can think, we already have all the tools that we need to be successful and to do what we need to do. There's books out there that we can educate ourselves with. There's mentors that we can seek out. There's friends that have businesses. You can ask questions if you ever have anything you feel lost. So like, I feel like the resources are there. Like, once again, the trees are there. Yeah. Are you willing to, you know, open up that door or build that table? Yeah. And I think that's the difference, right? Like, if we're talking about entrepreneurship and how God intertwines into everything, I feel like having the Holy Spirit or being a Christian or a man of God just makes things easier when you have no one to turn to.
Just life makes sense. Life makes sense.
It helps clear the fogginess.
It gives you the clarity. It keeps all the noise in the head of like, what is the whole point of living? What is the whole point of living? It's like, well, just come to this guy. He will show you what the point of living is. Now, he does give us different talents to all of us. You know, is that the ability for you to run your business is in your space. My ability to run this business is in my space. He gives us the talent. He gives us the opportunity. But at the end of the day, it's like you just said, Jeff Bezos. Not once has he talked about God. Who knows if behind scenes he actually is a man of God. But I not once have heard him talk about him. Yeah. You know, but it does matter because wealth can come from the enemy. And when wealth you give your life to the enemy, look at all, I'm going to use, it might sound very extremist, but look at the music industry. A lot of this industry is in the dark space. Yeah. And they got all the wealth, they got all the riches that they want to have. They have everything that this world gets to offer. But do they have what the Lord gets to offer, which is what you said is salvation? I'm not going to say yes, I'm not going to say no. They only know themselves. But when we do think that is through me that I have been able to build these businesses, I can tell you in my opinion, in my case, it's like he has allowed me to have the understanding and the clarity of how to build this business, and I choose to give him the glory because at the end of the day, it's thanks to him that I'm able to do this because he gave me the health, he gave me the understanding. Exactly. And the glory does not go back to me.
Yeah, it goes to
Trust
him.
in the Lord with all your heart and do not lean on your own understanding.
Yeah.
So that to me was like, I thought I knew how to build this business and I thought I was doing it on my own. It wasn't. It's He allowed me to have the instruments to build this business, but I always give Him back the glory.
And that's it, man. Like that's the full circle moment. I think too many people intertwine it with like luck or God just blessed that person and it just kind of happened overnight. It's like, no, like God gave us health, like He gave you health. He's already blessing you. You just don't see it as a blessing. And it's like you just got to put in the work. And like you said, the glory that we give to God when we find success, you know, without God, this couldn't be possible. It's because He did give us that. He gave us, and here's the thing though, here's a really crazy moment. I remember being in Texas when I moved out there, hence the Ranch Barber Company, right? Like I got inspired from Texas. I went to the stockyards in Fort Worth and like the aesthetic you see on the inside and all that, it's all a Texas-based thing, you know. So I got inspired by that. I seen that there was no barbershops in Southern California that had or in California at all that had like the Western culture, like
Which
Western
is your shops are really nice.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
And I remember like I wanted to come back, have a grade A shop and build to that, but I just remember like being in a shower in Texas and like praying to God because I was stressed out because I was over there trying to make it work and I felt like things kept closing. And this is a crazy part because once again, I believe that God does give you the trees and you build the tables, but there's some stuff you just cannot explain. Kind of like when I prayed and I was like, God, give me someone that wants me to learn.
Right.
And it works. And it's like, okay, that's God, right? There's certain things you just like, I would consider them miracles, right? I remember being in the shower, stressed out, thinking, how am I going to make ends meet, you know, whatever. Or like I feel lost. What do I do?
Okay.
Once again, it goes back to like not having direction, you know, you wanting clarity. I remember like a clear voice, and call me crazy, but I remember like this clear voice in my head saying, go back home and take care of your loved ones.
Cool.
And I'm like, man, till this day, I just remember like I heard that, like clear as day, like it creeped me out. And I was like, I heard that and I was like, and I remember I was like, all right. So I ended up, I literally broke the contract to my lease. I didn't even argue it. I think I took a trip in Texas. It was most horrible longest trip. It's a huge state, but I went through all of Texas all the way to Corpus Christi, and I just drove around Texas, went through Austin, all that, and just so I can be like, all right, cool, I've seen all of Texas, I'm going back home. And so a week later, I ended up leaving.
Okay.
I ended up coming back around my October 30, something like that, of 2021. I lasted only a couple months out there, and I came back home, started cutting hair again at one of my buddy's barbershops, and 8 months later, I started my business inside of a studio. Okay. And I just remember, like, I just locked in. I think I always kind of felt like God had bigger plans for me.
Okay.
And I wanted to be selfish, and not in a way where I'm like, I want to live in sin or anything like that. It was more so like, I don't want to take care of other people. Like, it was hard enough for me to kind of like pay my own bills and just be happy and just do what I want to do in my life.
Okay.
And I just felt like God had a calling for me to be a leader, or like to be in that position. And like, I just felt like when I heard that voice, I was like, I need to stop running from my purpose. And when I fully accepted it, even though like my life is a lot more complicated, there's a lot more moving parts now, I feel more at peace.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because now that I'm in my calling, I feel, or like my purpose in life, I don't feel like I'm struggling to kind of upkeep this purpose. Like, I feel like it's natural to me now. Okay. Like, it's who I'm supposed to be, you know?
I remember when I heard his voice, dude, because I can relate to that. When I was in Texas, and in Texas too, the past time when I had the presentation, before I had the chance to go and speak, I would always tell God, man, I just want to talk about you. And I don't want to have to rely on people giving me money to talk and spread the word. And after I got down the stage, my mind is thinking like, oh, I should have said this differently. I should have said this. I should have done this differently. And I go up to the room and I'm thinking about it. I'm like, I should have done all these things. Me, like a little kid. Dude, I hear the voice. He's like, you've been asking me to come and talk about me in front of people. You've been asking me that you don't want to have to ask people to give you money so that you can go and spread the message. Now that you did it, you planted the seed in over 110 people. All you can think about is you. You did the work. You let me do the rest. Stop thinking about you. Dude, I heard his voice. It's like, whoa. I don't know where that came from. I know where it came from. But I'm in the room and I just all of a sudden I hear this voice coming up. I'm like, shit, sorry.
Yeah.
I get it. Humble me down. I'm going to follow you. I'm going to keep on doing what you need me to do. But once you build such a cool relationship with him, and he comes and he talks to you, like the way he talks to us, it's like, man, thank you. Because not everybody has this blessing because not everybody is ready.
Do you know? You know, it's funny because you you said that he humbled you, right? They say that God has a sense of humor, right?
He does.
So the Apostle Paul, Paul means little man, and Saul means big man. And when he changed his name from Saul to Paul,
Okay.
he did that. And he used to crucify Christians. He used to kill Christians, right? Before he got saved, and he was blind, and he got his vision again. And it's funny because I think about that story, and I'm like, the Apostle Paul, you know, God humbled him. He changed his name to call him little man, right? Like, and it makes me think about how we are. Sometimes, you know, I don't know if it happens to you, but from time to time, you know, your ego does get big. You get proud of what you've done, as you should. You should be proud, but sometimes, once again, like we lose the fact that God has been holding our hand through everything. Yeah. Like we're doing the work, but God's guiding us, right? Yeah. And that's the best way I can put it. I feel like sometimes people forget like that God's in the picture.
He's in control of everything.
Man. Like in the split second, for example, if I'm like, hey, like, yeah, I put in the work, God gave me the trees. Here's the thing, but he gave me the health to do it. Yeah. And one day to another, we can lose that health that we don't have. And now it's like, okay, well, God could have intervened, but for whatever reason, he's allowing me to go through this trial, right? Yeah. So that's why when I talk about it, like I tell people, like, you know, I try to inspire people to not get lazy and use God as an excuse. Yeah. You know what I mean? If we're going to inspire people in business and where God is in the mixture of everything, I believe he's there to guide you. He's not there to like build the tables for you, right? So I'll go back to that, man. I just think that sometimes people have to stop running from their purpose. Yeah. I feel like sometimes people have to understand, like, if you have it in you to be a leader, to be a business owner, to be an entrepreneur, like, it's going to take a lot out of you, and you're going to be the person that people are going to look to for answers. And when you don't have them, you got to go to God, and he'll give you the answers, whether it be in time or sometimes talking to you. You know what I mean? Which is scary, but it's there. It happens from time to time. It's a
blessing, dude. To me, it's like, man, how amazing it is to understand that once you hear that voice, it's no longer, oh, I have a gut feeling. I have a gut feeling. It's like, no, it's like, oh, man.
This is real.
He's talking to me. And I understand that because now I have the clarity. And that is, to me, the difference between not a believer, but somebody who has a relationship with them and somebody who doesn't have one. They think it's my gut feeling. It's a gut feeling. It's not a gut feeling, bro.
Somebody said, I think in the Bible it says that even well, I don't know if they says that, but like there was a story, right, where I forget, there's like a town full of like possessed people. They were possessed with demons, and like Jesus Christ was walking in, and the moment that he walked through, the demons recognized Christ themselves.
What are you doing here?
And they're like, oh, let us go into the swine, and we'll leave. Yeah. And they ended up going to the ocean, and they drowned themselves or whatnot. Well, the idea is like even the demons believe. Yeah. So when people say I'm a believer, like, yeah, great job. Like the devil believes in God too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but like, do you have a relationship with him? Do you know him? It's not the same to know him versus believing in him. Yep. Dude, I'm curious, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but on your day-to-day, when you're out there, where you don't have the cameras, when you're just with your team, do you talk about the gospel with them? Do you bring them up intentionally? Or sometimes it's like, the business comes and takes priority, and then do you intentionally do that?
I think where it happens more often than not is in my chair.
Okay.
That's where it really happens. I think I have a lot more conversations centered around God and tough conversations. I don't like to be controversial. I like to have real conversations with people and not just be a yes man. Okay. You know, if people are in my chair, I talk to them about God, but in a very real way. Like I don't. If people are talking to me about God and they claim to be Christian, I'm asking them like, okay, what do you do after church? Because I've been criticized about not going to church every Sunday, and I work Sundays. You know what I mean? Like I find myself happier going to work and staying busy that way instead of going to church, because church to me doesn't do much. What matters,
you can touch more souls on that chair on a Sunday than being out in the church.
And I agree, you know, and I think it's cool to be served and all that, but like I feel like a lot of people don't understand when you have those one-on-one interactions. Like I had one of my buddies, he's a pastor, once again, he'll sit in my chair, and every single time I was talking about God to some extent. Like very rarely are we talking about like personal life, which sucks because, you know, you want to do that, but every now and then, for example, like he's a really good friend of mine, we'll go on a hike. Okay. You know what I mean? And we'll go on that hike and then we'll have a good time. And the whole time we're like 4 hours in, like by the time we come back, I mean, what do you think we talked about the whole time? Like everything was centered around our personal life and how God is involved in it. And that's what I'm saying. I think a lot of people miss out that like when you're out in the world, like once again, what are you an example of? Are you going through something and you're still persevering through, right? Like That's why I have this tattooed right here, right? It's like a reminder, like you got to learn how to persevere and learn how to be resilient.
Yeah.
You know, you see Christ get beat up so badly that he should have died, but because he's obviously God in the flesh, he survived it. And he himself said, all right, I'm done. Like it's finished, you know, and he finally like let himself go.
Yeah.
And it could get to a point where you're like, you have to realize, to me, like metaphorically speaking, right, that's an example of how we're supposed to live our life. No matter what life throws at you, no matter how hard things get, like, are you persevering through that?
Yeah.
Like, even though you know you're about to go through something horrible, are you still keeping your faith in God?
Yeah.
You know, because and there was moments, right, where Christ was weak. Not weak, he showed his human side, where he's like, take this cup from me, like, let it pass, right? And I remember that specific moment because I'm like, those are moments that God was showing us that Christ was still human. You know, even when he's on the cross and he's like, God, why have you forsaken me? Like, those are moments of him being not weak, but being human. Yeah, and I think, and that makes us human. Sometimes we're gonna have those moments where we're gonna question God. We're gonna talk to people. We're gonna have our weak moments or our human moments, but it doesn't make us bad in the faith. I think that's the part of the experience that people don't get to accept. You know, people want to act like they're always good as Christians. Oh, God's amazing. Like I've been so much better since I met God. I'm like, no, there's been moments that I'm like, God, I did everything right. Why did this still happen to me? And I get into like a depression or I get into like a hard moment. But I'm like, once I get through that, I either learn why it happened or it just built my character. But I never lose faith, right? So it's like, just because you have God, it doesn't mean that your life is going to be great. It just means it's going to get easier to deal with bad things.
You understand the challenge, sorry to interrupt you. Challenges like that, he puts us through to really carve up the personality that he's building for us.
Yeah.
And when my dad passed away, okay, perfect example. There was one day before my dad lost consciousness, I'm on the apartment in Chino Hills, and this is when my dad just collapsed on the floor, and he lived in Azusa. My brother calls me, dude, my dad just collapsed. He's on the floor. Like, dude, I can't do anything to go pick you up. Like, I was at that point that there were so many things going back at home. So firefighters showed up, but that was the first moment when God told me, like, hey, remember that I told you something big was coming? Okay, it's around the corner. It's like, you're about to lose your earthly father. Once that hit me, it's like I fell into a very, very deep hole, dude. And the only person that I could find at that moment was my daughter, Jade. I held down to her and I started crying like a little baby, man. I'm like, okay, I'm going to lose my dad's going to pass away. My dad's going to transition. It was the scariest moment that I've experienced. And my daughter helped me. I was able to hold my daughter to help me get out of that hole. So what did that tell me? Okay, I'm going to lose my dad. There's grief on both sides of it. It doesn't matter which way I want to go to. I'm going to grieve. I'm going to be upset. One of them is on my own. The other one is by the hand of God. And I'm glad I was able to take his hand, because once I understood that it was thanks to him that I lost my earthly father, but I gained my heavenly father, it didn't feel the same way. Pain wasn't the same. You know, so when God allows you to build a life with him and he allows you to go through the trials and the tribulations that you're living in the moment, it's like there's something behind this.
You know,
just wait for it.
Hey, story of Job.
Okay.
Story of Job, right? He was a great Christian, right? He lived his life for God. He had a lot of blessings. I believe he was even rich. I could be wrong. I haven't read the story in a while, but pretty much the way I remember it, and if I'm chopping up the story, forgive me, but the devil and God were literally having a wager.
Okay.
And the devil said, you think Job, right? Job's a good man. Let me take everything from him. Okay. And I bet you once he loses everything, he's going to curse your name.
Yeah.
And God was like, bet, right?
Now once.
Yeah, I'm chopping it up. I'm
familiar with
summarizing it,
yeah. Yeah.
But then he was like, well, I bet you if you just let me put my hands on him, right? Like, let me hurt him, and God was, all right, bet, but don't kill him. So he's like literally like on his deathbed, but still not dying. And, he already took his kids away. He took everything, right?
His riches, everything that he had, he took it away.
So he's sitting there like struggling. And the only moment of weakness that he had was he asked God why. And I could be wrong, but I remember that's what happened. And then God came in. I remember it was like 2 chapters or something when he was like, were you there when I created the winds and the stars? Like pretty much saying like, don't ask me why I do things. Sometimes you're not going to understand it and you have to just have faith, right? Faith in what I'm doing. And point is, after he ended up struggling and going through all that, God ended up multiplying his blessings. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't understand. It's like, Job went through all that, but imagine if he didn't have God in that.
Oh, yeah.
Imagine if all these bad things started happening to him and he just had no reason or nothing to lean on.
Yeah.
And I go back to, once again, to what you went through. You know, it reminds me of those moments, right, where it's like you don't know why you're going through what you're going through, but having God there to lean on as a rock, as a foundation for your faith, I think that's the beauty of where, once again, it intertwines with entrepreneurship.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's too many people, man, they go through what you go through, they shut down, and then their business goes to crap.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you locked in. And that's thanks to God once again. So when we thank God, man, it's like you start to shift your mindset on how you move and why you do things. Like nowadays, man, I walk around and I look at the babies, the families, the wives of the guys that work for me, you know, even the husbands and the kids of the moms that work for me, man, and you see them happy. You see them like being able to provide a life for their family. Yeah. It's like, this is why God has me.
It's awesome, right? When you're able to see that, thanks to the vision that the Lord implanting in your heart, and He 100%. Showed you how to make it happen, then you get to see how their lives are being blessed financially. Like that to me is the greatest gift that I can ask Him. Is like, okay, because we're doing something not for us. We're doing something that other people are able to benefit from it.
You're multiplying the fish and the bread, man. Yeah. You were given a basket of bread and fish, and now you're multiplying it to multiple people. Like, once again, man, that's the beauty, man. Like I it's crazy because the more I think about like Christ's ministry, like you can literally correlate it to business in multiple ways. You know, you're creating miracles.
That's why this room is the way it is. That's why this podcast is about this. That's why this community is about that. Is bring Him into your business, bring Him into your life. Life is going to be so much smoother.
But you know what's crazy? Even to the smaller things, right? I think too many people get into a position of leadership and they feel like they gotta, you know, strut their stuff around, right? Where they're like, oh yeah, like I'm the big boss, I'm the head honcho. But I'm like, when did Christ ever do that? And Christ had the power to snap His finger and kill anybody he wanted to.
He wanted to do.
He wanted to do anything, and like He didn't.
He was humble.
So it's like, and going back to that, right? Did He ever offend anybody? No, He didn't.
No.
You know what I mean? He spoke in parables. He asked questions and let people come to their own conclusions. You know, and it's like that was who He was. So it's like, you want to learn how to be a good leader. You want to learn how to be a good business owner. You want to learn how to run a successful business in a positive manner. Not you know by the wrath of the back of your hand, right? Like, you be a Christian, be Christ-like. Yeah, you know what I mean. That's
be a humble servant. Be a humble servant. That's all you gotta do. Yep, brother. I'm enjoying this conversation a lot, you know, and we can keep on going. But I love the fact that most of this conversation, honestly, has been about God. To wrap it up, first of all, congrats. You know, because you are letting the Lord work through you, first and foremost. Congrats on coming to Him, allowing Him to use you the way He's using you. Congratulations on the businesses that you're building. You know, may the Lord continue to show His favor upon you, upon your family, your generations to come. At some point, you'll be blessed with a life, with a little one that you can raise on His image. Just remember, let the Lord use you for what it really is supposed to be, which is you're building an amazing platform. But this right here, this fact that you're sharing all of this with me, and it's going to be plastered on a video, just let the Lord keep on using your testimony to reach through their life, man. Keep on planting the seed for those that don't know Him, that have lost sight of Him. Show them how He saved you. Everything you share with me, keep on doing that, brother. Keep on doing that.
Yes, sir.
What are you, this is a question that I like to end up with. What are your 3 core values? Not of the ranch, but of Luis Cobos.
Be a man of your word, or a person or woman of your word. You know, say what you mean. I think a lot of people don't understand how deep your words affect others. You know, I would say be a man of your word and say what you mean and do what you're going to say. I think you want to build people's trust in you. When you're a business owner. You know, people don't respect effort; they respect evidence. You know, so be a man of your word and follow through with what you're going to say. It doesn't mean you got to be perfect, but do your best to live every day like to be a man of your word and not be a liar, right? I'm big on loyalty. Okay. Loyalty is huge for me. I reward loyalty, and I love being loyal to people. Like, if you're loyal to me, I'm loyal to you. So, you know, loyalty matters a lot more in business and in life than people think. And I think relationships. I value relationships and time. Yeah. I think you get to a place, guys, that I'll say this, that you get to a place where you make a certain amount of money that if you keep your same lifestyle, you don't stress about money. And I'll generalize that, but I will say this, like, when you get to that place and you're comfortable, one thing you start to realize is that time is more valuable than money.
Yeah.
You know, so if someone is willing to give you their time, they're asking for your time, value that person, because they can never get that back. Money can get made. You can multiply money if you learn how to do it over time. So money you can always make back. What you can never get back is your time. So I would say I value my time and other people's time very highly. I love to be a man of my word, and I value loyalty more than anything else. So those are my 3 core values, you know. And I think all those 3 things is something that you can find in the Bible and as a Christian.
Yeah.
So if you guys haven't found God, I ask that you guys give him a try, and you won't regret it, man. Like there's you know, I own 3 locations. I've opened up 3 locations in less than 3 years. Not in 3 years, in less than 3 years. In 2.5 years, I opened up 3 businesses under the Ranch Barber Company, and none of it would have been possible if I didn't have God and Christ as a solid foundation, because there's moments that I felt weak, that I cried, that I broke down, but knowing that I had God looking after me, I had the courage and, you know, to be able to get it done. So without God, things aren't possible. God's only going to open up doors for you. It's up to you to walk through those doors.
Amen.
I think that's something that a lot of people forget, man. Like God will open up doors. It's up to you to walk through them. So
Amen to that.
Put in the work, guys.
Put in the work. So, Luis, brother, thank you for letting me get to know you better,
Yes,
man.
sir.
Thank you for sharing the time with me. Thank you for making the drive. I know we had to reschedule a couple of times, but we made it happen. So, for all of you out there, the Ranch Barber Co., Riverside
And Corona.
Riverside, Corona.
Yeah, we have 2 in Riverside, one in the Woodcrest, Orange Crest area, one in Van Buren and Lincoln Avenue by the drive-in off the 91 freeway, and then the other one's in off of Ontario Avenue in Corona. We also have a clothing company. As you can tell, this is the sample. We're dropping it pretty soon here.
There you go.
But it's the Ranch Clothing Company. It's something that, you know, we want to inspire people to be part of the movement that we're, you know, creating.
You are creating a cool movement, man.
Yeah.
I enjoy going there.
Appreciate it.
The vibe that you guys have at the shops, it's different from other shops.
Appreciate it. Yeah, man. This is what it's about, man. You know, it's about creating movements, culture, community. You know, just remember, guys, always keep God first.
Amen to that.
All right.
Till the next time. This podcast is brought to you by Leto Financial and Insurance Services. If you need anything as far as your commercial insurance, auto insurance, financial planning, health benefits, this is your spot to come here in Riverside, California. And we'll see you on the next event, Mixing Knowledge. Have a blessed day, everybody.